Well, this year's WrestleMania had a lot of ups and downs, both in the ring and especially during the endless ad breaks. That feeling likely won't be the same for this installment of Battle of the B-Shows. After some major defections last week helped to further build up SummerSlam, how did Raw and SmackDown carry on with their rosters being shaken up again? The Red Brand's newest member Chris Jericho opened the show to explain that Eric Bischoff was a genius for pushing a true superstar such as himself compared to a has-been like Ric Flair. Triple H shut him down soon after, theorizing that Jericho attacked HBK to get back at Hunter for everything between them since WrestleMania, but Chris fought back with his own facts while trying to clear his name. Hunter ended up believing him simply because Y2J lacked the balls to commit such a crime, before proceeding with his night-long investigation. Rob Van Dam then came out, welcoming Chris to Raw and challenged him to determine the true Mr. Monday Night in the main event. Sergeant Slaughter took a problem with the Un-American's attack on Undertaker last week, believed to be facing Test in a match, but ended up getting laid out by the Canadian in quick fashion. Though he and his fellow Un-Americans had to run away from Deadman Inc. when he chased after them following the World Tag Team title match later on, as the rental car seemed to have given them an escape until some conveniently placed police motorcycles allowed Taker to continue his pursuit throughout Baltimore. Victoria made her Raw in-ring debut as a rookie under Molly Holly's wing, facing Trish Stratus in a, technically, rematch from their Heat encounter. Victoria took a page out of Rob Conway's playbook by faking an injury to get the advantage, but ended up needing the middle rope after reversing a roll-up to get the win. Molly then ran down to help with a 2-on-1 attack, though Stratus managed to fend off both of them to stand tall. Jericho vs. Van Dam was a quick-paced and fairly even contest until Chris laid out Earl Hebner by accident, taking advantage by grabbing a chair at ringside to knock down Rob. But the true dirtiest player in the game got revenge on Jericho with a chair of his own and helping RVD win after the 5-star Frog Splash. As every major Raw star claimed to have not laid their hands on the Heartbreak Kid, Triple H came back out to receive a surprise from Eric Bischoff, where Shawn Michaels appeared via satellite to reveal some footage from the parking lot attack. After it got enhanced, the attacker was revealed to be Triple H.
What a twist!
And Hunter gave up the facade to claim his actions were to protect Shawn. Michaels informed his now former friend that the doctor should clear him to compete again, and as luck would have it, in time for SummerSlam, as a challenge is made for a fight. Hunter promises that he won't hold back again from trying to cripple HBK and keep him from living his life like he used to, but Shawn walks off after telling the world that now is the time for him to fight. SmackDown started off hot with a major post-match attack when Angle faced Cena in the opener, leading to Benoit, Guerrero, Mysterio, and Edge all getting involved and setting up a 6-man tag match for the show. Brock Lesnar antagonized Hollywood Hogan in his locker room, asking if he really wanted to go through with their main event tonight. Hulkster convinced Brock to put up his SummerSlam title shot if he was that confident, to which Lesnar accepted and Heyman completely freaked out over while trying to explain how it would end up backfiring. The next big thing wondered if Paul Lee was losing confidence in him to get the job done tonight, with a lot at stake for later. The rookie would get worked over in the heel's corner during the tag match, adding on to the damage of his left arm from Benoit's crossface earlier, but would finally get an opening to tag in Edge and lead to all 6 competitors once again throwing everything they could at each other just as they did to start off the night. Rey Mysterio would pin Angle off the West Coast Pop in a great showcase for SmackDown's top-tier talent. Kurt reacted to this upset backstage by saying,
"I just got pinned by a freaking 12-year-old.
and complaining about Mysterio being the illegal man in the match, but promised to make Rey suffer with a broken ankle courtesy of our Olympic hero. Eric Bischoff managed to get into Stephanie's office once again, with the assistance of, well, Stephanie's assistant, Stacy Keibler, to prepare some kind of paperwork that may seemingly do more harm to his opposition. Despite getting thrown off his game at times, Thursday night wrapped up with Brock Lesnar defeating the legend to keep his match with The Rock intact and even squeeze the life out of Hulkamania via the bear hug and using the chair to bust him open, leading to that shot of Lesnar wiping Hogan's blood over his own chest. There were plans on running this match back at Survivor Series in MSG, but due to Hogan-related conflicts, this would be the last time Hulk appeared in WWE until after next year's Royal Rumble. Switching gears to our main events on the weekend, Hardcore Holly takes his recent issues towards Mark Lloyd out onto the North American Grizzly Albert to close out Velocity, while Sunday Night Heat offers D'Lo Brown and Raven settling their issues in the ring after things got out of hand last week at the announce desk. You know the drill, let's get underway with some more exciting action from SmackDown. Mark Lloyd was getting his hair done by Rico earlier in the day, with Hardcore Holly popping in and saying how the pair look like they deserve each other on a Saturday night. Rico tells them to take a number, but makes the mistake of turning away from Holly, with Sparky Plug shaving a little off the back just as Velocity gets underway. Much like Saturday Nitro did 5 years earlier, the Cruiserweight division starts the action off with Chavo Guerrero taking on Tajiri. Taz sits in for Michael Cole on commentary tonight and will spend the entire episode suggesting Lloyd talking smack, down, about Holly, leading to last week's slap. Some quick chain wrestling in the opening moments gets an ovation from the crowd. Chavo then shoves Tajiri, but the Japanese buzzsaw kips back up to nail the sidekick. Chavito's rebound sunset flip gets countered as Yoshihiro drags him towards the apron and leads to an attempted buzzsaw kick only for Guerrero to duck and Tajiri to connect with the ring post. Chavo immediately goes after that bad leg, though the former Cruiserweight champion manages to sneak in a roll-up before getting sent onto the mat and struggles to escape his opponent's submission until he crawls to the bottom rope. The limb targeting carries over into the corner, Chavo Jr. getting kicked away and ends up in the tarantula briefly but keeps his focus on Tajiri's right ankle. Tajiri hits the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker onto the bad leg, allowing Eddie's nephew to take advantage for a minute before the two start trading some loud chops that ends in a German suplex and has its follow-up cover stopped when Tajiri favors the leg. He then makes the mistake of trying a moonsault and lands on his feet as Chavo ducks, Guerrero following up with a close count off the backbreaker. A corner Irish whip gets reversed as Tajiri tries climbing to the top rope and gets sent off, Chavo hoping to take advantage via a middle rope dive, only for Tajiri to stop him with the appropriately colored green mist that ends our first match on Velocity in a disqualification. Tajiri is barely able to crawl up the ramp, while Chavo hopes to clear his vision after getting his arm raised on TNN. Mark Lloyd's stylist Rico is up next as he faces Funaki. And I quickly want to point out that both Velocity and Heat this weekend are sponsored by the Eddie Murphy Classic,
Pluto Nash in 3D.
While Mark points out Funaki's recent aggression on previous Velocity matchups, but Taz just wants him to get some new tights. The competitors trading covers and bows of respect that give Rico a chance to knock Funaki down. Billy and Chuck's manager tries and fails for a corner attack, later rushing out of the ring when hit with a dropkick.
Cold red by Billy and Chuck. That's tough to do. Oh, hip lock.
Oh, and another one. Look it. Here comes Funaki in a big drop kick.
You hear the people just talking about Rico and his evening activities a moment ago. They said Rico sucks.
The human suplex machine jumps to conclusions on Lloyd and Constantino's dynamic, while Rico asks for mercy from the Kind Time member and escapes his grasp with some snake eyes and a super kick. Rico's martial arts background helps to take advantage but fails to get him the win, then checking Funaki's pulse and believes this match is over, but a missed moonsault tells him otherwise. Shuichi starts his comeback, getting a 2 off the Bulldog as well as a Schoolboy, and moments later running right into Rico's hip toss neckbreaker that he has to kick out of. An attempted Rico's Edge is halted when Funaki uses the turnbuckle to bounce on his feet, nailing a backdrop only to suffer a spinning heel kick to hand Rico an impressive victory this Saturday night, and Taz assumes Mark Lloyd is especially happy to see it. Mike Awesome may finally get an overdue victory on SmackDown's B show when he faces a returning Bull Buchanan, who spent the past year in OVW after Right to Censor got disbanded just prior to the Alliance angle. Hollywood Hogan getting destroyed on Thursday is brought up as Awesome hits a flying shoulder attack off the ropes and wastes little time nailing a body press. Some ECW chants are heard in the arena as the sound for Awesome's top rope clothesline that Bull kicks out of. Buchanan dodges a running corner attack and strikes the former 70s guy with a neckbreaker for a 2, then pulling out a springboard clothesline out of the corner, but has to resort towards the chinlock to make Awesome tap the mat that doesn't end the match.
Bull's got a rear chin lock cinched in. Why Mike Awesome's tapping the mat, I have no idea.
Trying to get something, confidence, whatever, to get back to his feet, which he did.
Okay, so wait, you bang on a, so you bang on the mat, you get confidence. So let's bang on the table. I'm confident.
Bossman's former partner tosses him outside and straight into the steel steps, trying a running attack off the ropes and heads straight into the slingshot shoulder block. Mike follows that with a back suplex, hoping to send Bull back to Louisville with his top rope splash, but stalls for too long and Buchanan gets enough time to move. Bull blocks another running corner attack and shows more agility by lifting himself to the top rope and nailed the leg drop to get his first victory back on WWE TV, while Mike Awesome remains winless on Velocity. Mark Lloyd might start shaking with fear as Hardcore Holly and Albert get to run things back, this time in the main event. Holly staring down Lloyd gives Albert an opening to knock him out of the ring and start brawling at ringside. The two finally get back in, where Albert manages to lift and toss him with a military press slam. Bernard moves to the corner to get back at Bombastic Bob before Holly fights out for a few moments but runs straight into a backbreaker and a boot from the outside when draped over the apron. Albert attempts a second attack just as Hardcore gets his feet up, and the two once again fight outside, returning to the ring where the best dropkick in the business doesn't quite end things. After a few chops in the corner, Holly stays on top of the big man via a flying clothesline off the ropes and looks for a dive only to get caught off. The Baldo bomb is interrupted, but the bicycle kick isn't. Holly, fighting through said kick, frustrates Albert as he then shoves Mike Chioda. Chioda pushes back and accidentally assists Hardcore in rolling up the Prince to get a sneaky victory. Albert tries to retaliate after the bell, having his Irish whip reversed and getting sent into the steps just when Holly heads around to the announce desk where he finally gets to confront Mark Lloyd, taking off the headset and dragging him away to seemingly get even with the commentator until Rico pops up from out of nowhere to superkick Bob. Rico shakes Mark Lloyd's hand, but just as quickly slaps him in the face before walking up the ramp, as Mark continues to be the biggest menace on Velocity, with the show coming to a close. We kick off heat with Shelton Benjamin hoping to continue the momentum from his debut against the face that runs the Planet, Shawn Stasiak. D'Lo is hyped to take Raven down a few pegs in his own personal playground later tonight, as Shawn disrespects Shelton in the corner and runs towards the ropes to avoid his wrath. Benjamin switching to mat wrestling leads to another cheap shot from Stasiak, with the Orangeburg native leaping for a rebound attack to even things out. The two brawl on the ropes, and Meat tries sending him over the top, only for Shelton to skin the cat and send Shawn flying to ringside. Benjamin keeps his eye off the ball for a moment and pays dearly when he's dragged outside and suplexed on the floor. Planet Stasiak can surely understand the "you suck" chants from the fans, all while Shawn takes the action onto the mat, and later, the OVW graduate somewhat struggles to roll him up for a 2. One half of the perfect event ends up on the receiving end of Benjamin's comeback, getting a chance to stop him by nailing the spinebuster, but doesn't put the rookie out for the win. Stasiak delivers some stomps and a suplex that Shelton escapes, throwing Stasiak off his game much like Just Incredible in his debut to nail a snap-spinning heel kick and put another W under his belt. Speaking of Mr. Credible, Justin tries his luck against another WWE rookie tonight in Sean O'Haire. Some holds are traded when O'Haire tackles Justin onto the mat. The man D'Lo calls explosive shows that type of offense when tossing Credible across the ring before slowing the pace down with a rest hold. Justin forces him into the corner and looks to knock the big man off his feet, but gets his toss reversed and finds himself receiving a snapmare off the middle rope, seemingly doing little damage as Credible moves and Shawn runs his shoulder into the ring post. The Impact player hones in on the limb and returns the rest hold from earlier when Shawn catches Justin into a power slam soon after. Just like Tajiri last night, O'Haire can't go for the pin due to the damage, so he throws some punches and connects with a super kick for a near fall. A middle rope dive is telegraphed when Credible hits his own super kick that doesn't put the Natural Born Thriller down for 3. An exchange right after helps O'Haire pull him in for Cruel Intentions to be hid and to score him a victory despite the rough shape of his arm. Terri interviews Spike Dudley and Steven Richards backstage. Spike saying their matchup next is merely a friendly contest, but Stevie feels differently. Richards thinks him winning tonight is a beef in itself, while Spike claims that the Steven Kick and the Steven Bomb won't be enough to knock him out tonight, pouring salt into the wound by bringing up Terri beating Richards for the Hardcore title. Big Stevie Cool calls out the obvious mind games and asks what they think is in his mind.
Nothing?
Getting more fired up before they both make their way to the ring. Steven Richards hopes one signature move with his name will in fact do the trick against fellow ECW alum Spike Dudley. The two continue trading words once the bell rings, and Spike gets in a few roll-ups to play even more mind games, though the supposed wacko ends up throwing Dudley into the ring post and hits the 3 companions for the 2. A neckbreaker after ends up just as successful. Big Stevie Cool chokes Spike in the corner, preparing to hit the Steven suplex until that gets countered, and the Dudley Dog is also countered rather quickly. Richards tells Spike that he'll show him, locking in the camel clutch for a minute as it then gets broken up and leads to Richards grabbing a chair from ringside, but doesn't get to do anything when Spike rams it out of his hands. The Dudley Boy finds his second win and looks to finally nail his Dudley Dog when Steven reverses the finisher again and grabs the chair to clock Spike right on the head to lose via DQ. Steven takes the weapon with him up the ramp and, similar to Al Snow, talks to it like an actual person. D'Lo finally gets his hands on Raven after the disrespect shown on commentary in our Heat main event. Or so we thought. Raven walks out on crutches as D'Lo looks baffled at his opponent weaseling his way out of their match, with Heat's former broadcaster saying he won't be able to compete tonight due to a sprained ankle. Raven accuses the fans of being degenerates for wanting to see him risk permanent damage trying to wrestle on Heat, showing a facade of caring and compassion to mask their lust for violence. He then blames D'Lo for last week's attack causing severe trauma, while no one in the building shows compassion for it, ending the promo by saying he's found someone who's familiar with debt collection that will make D'Lo Brown pay. Raven found himself a bowl to take out D'Lo in Johnny Stamboli for our new main event on Heat. D'Lo quickly goes on offense with a sunset flip, though Johnny gets in a clothesline and corner attacks before trying his own rebound flip that Coach's announce partner escapes. D'Lo essentially takes control for the next minute or so until Raven causes a distraction to lure his rival in for a crutch attack and assist in a...
Hey, forget about it.
to make D'Lo Brown pay for his sins and wrap up another edition of Sunday Night Heat. Despite Mark Lloyd stirring up trouble with everybody, he did help in giving Velocity another point for today's episode of the B-Shows. Tajiri and Chavo both remain great competitors to watch on SmackDown's undercard, and their match here proved that. I wasn't completely against a DQ finish, since Tajiri using his mist for an escape made sense, and it would have been just as fine if Chavo took advantage of the bad leg to score the win. Rico got some nice offense in against Funaki, though it was surprising to see the aggression from Show's recent Velocity matches being toned back some for this one. Awesome and Buchanan actually surprised me with a match between two big men who could pull out some dives and agile moves if needed. But while it was a pretty good match, I'm still gonna complain about how Awesome remains jobbing on the lower tier Show when he should have been handled better. And that's especially damning here since he's losing to someone who's just getting called back up after being in developmental for the past year. The brawling and chaos of the main event was good to see, but Albert and Holly didn't get to put on a match like last week since it was always just a backdrop for the ongoing story between Hardcore and Mark Lloyd, which, to be frank, I don't know where they're gonna go with it. Shelton Benjamin got another good match against Shawn Stasiak, and not too much I can add beyond hoping they'll keep presenting Benjamin strongly before his eventual move to Raw or SmackDown. Sean O'Hare had some great moments against Just Incredible, but I wouldn't say the match itself didn't feature anything we haven't already seen from either man. Spike and Steven had the most enjoyable match on either B-Show. Their interview, as well as the DQ finish, are helping to push Steven towards a more crazed and out-of-his-element gimmick. It might even be enough to change Sunday Night Heat as we know it. Until then, they're gonna face off again for the pre-SummerSlam edition of the show in 2 weeks' time. Johnny Stamboli beating D'Lo in the main event served its purpose. It was fairly quick and straight to the point, and Raven avoiding an actual match against D'Lo after what happened the week prior. This could have been swapped with the Dudley Richards match if it was essentially going to end up an angle disguised as a match to close out Heat. Some definite pros and cons for this weekend of wrestling, and I'm curious if you feel the same or differently with how everything went down on Velocity and Heat. But you know, I just remembered there is a big international WWE event taking place right as Velocity aired for us in North America. Something about global warming in Australia? Maybe it'll be worth checking out as a sort of continuation for the series. And pending that it won't get blocked on the channel, that may be what the next video will cover. So hopefully I'll see you guys then, and thanks for witnessing yet another battle of the B-Shows.